Oh, it's been a minute. I know that the entirety of the Wisconsin fan base has been wondering where I've been. Uh, let's just say it involves David Guetta and a Bulgarian music festival. And I'll leave it at that. Some good times. DM me for details. Anyway, Scary Alvarez podcast is here. I'm, of course, Scary Alvarez, the king of Wisconsin Badger podcasting, and also all the rest, if I'm being perfectly honest. Wine Island Enjoyer, Sherry Wine Destroyer, Jake's Grandpa, and Cindy's plus one when she'll have me. And I feel like I'm broadcasting this from the bottom of a submarine from the 1940s or something, but just in a very, very large room because I live my life in large rooms. I'm going to talk about the Badger basketball team today, Red Guard squad. I know that many of you, I'm sure all of you remember when I was hyping this team up preseason as a very legitimate Sweet 16 Elite Eight contender. I have the receipts on that, but things have been pretty good since then. This team has remained largely healthy. McGee being an exception. Hopefully, he's back on the court soon. But I want to go through the four reasons why I think the Wisconsin Badgers can win a Big Ten title this year. I'm not going to get into NCAA stuff. I think the corollary to that is they can have success in the NCAA tournament as well. I think this could be their year, but that's a lot of guesswork at this point. But this is why they can win the Big Ten title, and that includes Purdue and Illinois. I'm going to start off with the most obvious answer is this team is really good. This team is talent. It's skilled. Has a fair amount of depth. I wouldn't say it's Grand Canyon deep, but it has impact players or at least serviceable players at every position, three down the depth chart. And Kamar McGree obviously getting back is going to be a big part of that again. But there are guys who can slide over and play the one if necessary. If Shanky's in foul trouble or tired, we can do it. Blackwell can do it. Plasma can do it. This is a talented team, and team MVP is probably not where I want to go today, but I want to say a word on Bucky Hepburn because there are people who I think are not analyzing the situation correctly who are down on Chucky this year because his scoring is down, his shooting percentages are down. Chucky Hepburn has been a better point guard in his junior season this year than he has been in either season previous. His assist to turnover ratio is sterling. He's making smart decisions on the court. He's not forcing it. No hero ball stuff that he was forced into, unfortunately, last year because of the lack of scores. Hepburn's been great. Now, would he privately concede that he'd want to be shooting better and maybe more? Yeah, I think that's true. But I think that's going to be okay. I'm not concerned about that. He's proven in the past that he could do it. So Hepburn's been really good. AJ Storr has been a revelation. He's not perfect, but he's awfully good, and that was a tremendous transfer in for Greg Gard. And of course, Max Klesman. I mean, he's on a bit of a heater right now. That is probably not indicative of where he'll be every game the rest of the year, but he has proven that he can be a clutch scorer, a streaky scorer, even. Meaning he can go get you 15 straight points, which was not on my bingo card to start the season. So this team is really good. That's point one. I think it's important to realize that. Two, buy-in. Talent is one thing. There are plenty of talented teams in college basketball every year that are not successful. So that requires that the players on that court and on that bench believe in the head coach. And I think it's pretty clear that the 2023-24 Wisconsin Badger basketball team has a tremendous amount of buy-in to what is happening. Yeah, there have been a few games where the defense hasn't been perfect. There's been a few games where the defense hasn't been great. It's been middling, maybe even less than middling. But overall, over the course of the entire year, the offensive efficiency, and this is borne out in things like KenPom and the T rankings and things like the things with these scientific nerds figure this stuff out more than just the eye test. This has been a team with outstanding offensive efficiency this season, averaging 76 points a game. They did win a low scoring grinder their last game to pull out that win in Minneapolis, and that's okay. That's a sign of a good team that can do it a little bit differently depending on the game and the situation that is presented to it. But on the whole, this has been a good offensive team this year and a solid defensive team. Still room for improvement in both. But both are indicative of the buy-in. These players believe in Gard. They believe in what he's selling. They believe that they can be good this year, and that's huge. Number three, the Big Ten is solid. It's a little bit that's a cynical one. The Big Ten is solid, but it's not great. Okay, there are not a lot of teams in the Big Ten that have a pedigree to have success in the tournament this year. I think Wisconsin happens to be one of them, but they're just this is a grindy, solid, talented but not overly talented conference where you're always going to get a tough game on the road. You're going to get a lot of tough games. Michigan State's going to come in and claw. That Wisconsin should win it, but it's not nothing's guaranteed. But the high end talent of this conference is not great. There are three teams that could probably win this title, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin. Uh, Maybe there's a dark horse there somewhere. I don't know, but that seems to be the teams that have that little extra gear that can get them there. Probably a good correlation to those are the same three teams that could make some noise in the NCAA tournament too. Although that's not for the show. But this is a solid but not great Big Ten that bodes well for Wisconsin and their chances. Whereas you're going to get a tough game most games, there aren't going to be many games when someone is going to come in and pound you. So I like the setup of the season. I like the schedule. The schedule so far has been pretty reasonable. It gets a little harder. We get Purdue and Illinois on the slate soon, but we don't have a road game in Illinois, and we don't have a second game with some other teams that like Purdue that would give us trouble. So it sets up really well for Wisconsin. And finally, I know you were getting to this. You knew I was getting to this, but and I touched on a little bit with the buy-in a few minutes ago. But Greg Gard has, in my opinion, done one of his best coaching jobs of all time. He is much maligned for a good portion of the fan base. I feel like the real thinkers, at a minimum, like Gard, I think wanting more from him this season than missing the tournament last year is totally reasonable, no matter what camp you're in. I too was there, but this is nice to see Greg Gard have some success when his plan comes together and he has the personnel to carry that through. He did not have the personnel last year. Yeah, that's on him. He's a coach. It's actually pretty impressive how well he did given some of the issues with last year's team. But this was the two-time Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2020 and 2022, looking like he has a chance at being the Big Ten Coach of the Year again this year in 2024. It becomes a pattern after a while when Gard is doing this well that he may know what he's doing. And yes, he is not now, nor will he ever be Bo Ryan for a number of reasons. And people are not going to like me for this, and it's okay. I don't give a shit. Before Bo Ryan got to the Final Four in 2014 and 2015, his coaching record was very similar to Greg Gard's. I mean, I'm not saying it's a perfect overlay. And there were some systemic things, and I think Ryan's teams were a little bit steadier. Bo didn't miss the tournament a couple times. That's the big difference. But by and large, in terms of wins and losses, the way the team looks, things like that, they have pretty similar careers. Now, does that mean that Greg Gard is gonna run off a couple of Final Fours and probably have an argument that he should have won two national titles in a row? I don't see it, but it just underscores the fact that comparisons to Bo Ryan are unfair to Gard. But if you want to really drill down, the differences in the first 8 years are not that different. It's pretty wild, actually. Go take a look at it. This is like comparing Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. It doesn't mean that Love is going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, although he could, but he actually is right there with those guys. So let's relax a little bit on that and be happy we have Greg Gard in there. Big game tonight at Michigan, or not at Michigan, hosting Michigan State. I like a Badger victory. Going to grind that one out and head into the weekend in first place. Thanks for coming on Wisconsin, and talk to you soon.